Hello, everyone. Nika here with your daily neuro nugget. Happy hump day. And we have a lot to talk about as usual. There's been a lot of rumors lately all over TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, because again, we have more people saying more things. Are they leaks? I don't know about Xana. They're saying that maybe, just maybe, she was not found inside of the bedroom. And we need to address this. Why? Because a lot of these rumors, a lot of these leaks that have taken place, we don't know where they're coming from yet. We don't know where they're coming from. We know there is supposed to be a special investigator that is supposed to be trying to figure out the source of the leaks. If Judge Hippler watches this video, I think he's going to be very upset because, again, YouTubers all over are saying, we have these leaks, more information. I'm very curious to know where the YouTubers are getting this information from. So none of what I'm going to be talking about today has been verified. But I think it's still important that we address this rumor. Why? Because again, several of the rumors that we heard from the very early days, guys, going on 2.5 years, we have found out that there's a lot of truth to these rumors, right? So I'm pulling up the live here, and we're going to be talking about this rumor that apparently Xana Kernodle was not found inside of the bedroom. Again, these are my theories, conspiracies. We're just addressing some rumors. Could they be potential leaks? And we're going to talk about potential proof of there being a cleanup crew. Because again, the cleanup crew theory was a very early day theory that a lot of us shared on our YouTube channels, but also that we had heard about in 4chan. And there's actually evidence suggesting that there was a freaking cleanup crew. This is why we're addressing Xana. Was she found outside of the bedroom? By the way, if you guys are in here, how's your day going, babe? How's your day going, babe? Now, let's talk about the blood. We're gonna call it red fluid because YouTube, you know, we're family friendly. Now, allegedly, Kaylee and Maddie were unalived in their bedroom, on their bed, near the mattress. So according to this source that is giving out this information to a lot of people on social media, according to the source, this red fluid was allegedly contained to the mattress and to the blankets because they were allegedly unalived near the mattress, right? Now, according to the same source, the red fluid that was found on Xana and on Ethan was overwhelming, okay? It was excessive, and the red fluid was supposedly overflowing, and it was supposed to have been from the edge of the bed plus all over like the rest of the room, the walls, and on and the doorway leading into the room, right? Now, let's address this source, this rumor, this theory, whatever you want to call it, right? Xana was supposedly not found inside the bedroom. She was supposedly in the hallway, but Ethan was found inside the bedroom. Now, remember, when the investigators showed up, what did they say about the smell? They said it was excessively overwhelming. Now, if this room was covered in red fluid, and the assailant had to, of course, exit the room, that means that the assailant or assailants would have tracked back red fluid outside into the hallways, right? Because if you're in a room that's covered in red fluid, when you exit it, you're going to track back red fluid. Even if you have shoe coverings on, even if you have some sort of hazmat suit or whatever your imagination tells you that the assailant or assailants were wearing, there still would have been prints or something found. So how was there no prints found anywhere? I'm gonna need my tea for this. I have lemongrass, by the way. Now, let's get back to the 4chan theory. Okay, what did the 4chan theory say? Again, this is just a theory. These are my opinions, my speculations. The 4chan theory said that there had been a cleanup crew. And what did Dylan Mortensen say? Of course, I believe that everything that Dylan Mortensen has said so far should be taken with a grain of salt. But she said that she saw something shaped like a vacuum cleaner, which is interesting because if she's saying a vacuum cleaner or something shaped like a vacuum cleaner, and then we have this 4chan theory, and then we have potential evidence of there actually being a cleanup crew, then that means that potentially the 4chan theory about the cleanup crew could have been right. Now, that leads me to point number 2, which is why was Hunter knocking on the bedroom door, calling out their names during the 911 call? If Xana was supposedly outside of the door, and if Xana was in fact, thank you so much for the super chat, Translucent, I appreciate it. If Xana was in fact outside the bedroom, then that would mean that Miss Dylan Mortensen definitely saw her and also saw the red fluid. And look, we've all said it since the early days. The stories of the roommates have been full of inconsistencies. Does that mean they were involved? Does it mean something else? Were they not involved? I don't know what it means, but it does. The truth is that the stories have been full of inconsistencies and probably some untruths in there as well. It seems that all the evidence proves that the roommates may not be telling the truth. When you have a lot of inconsistencies, usually some untruths in there, right? Now remember, the investigators said the smell of the red fluid was very strong. How is it possible that the roommates did not smell it, did not see it? And again, if this source or this theory, whatever you want to call it, is accurate about Xana being found outside of the bedroom, then that likely means that yes, ooh, a squirrel is watching me. That yes, sorry, I got distracted by this squirrel. I have ADD. Then that means that Dylan very likely saw Xana. If Xana was actually outside of the bedroom, that means Dylan probably saw Xana. And that means Dylan probably saw the red fluid. Now, when things don't make sense, because this case, let's be honest with each other, it doesn't make sense. This whole case doesn't make sense, okay? When things don't make sense, it's likely because we are not being told the truth. And if this potential leak or source or rumor is true, then it almost makes me think somebody could have been sitting in the chair watching. What do I mean by that? You let me know what I mean by that in the chat, right? Put yourself, we have to, again, be able to set our emotions aside when we are talking about this crime. This is something that is very, very charged. It's a very emotional topic for a lot of us. And we need to be able to set our emotions aside, try to be objective. If there is potentially some reason that Xana could have been found outside of the bedroom and Ethan was inside, is it possible that somebody had been watching or maybe even filming? Again, we've also heard 4chan theories speculate about somebody filming the crime, and the fact that Xana could have been found outside of the bedroom while Ethan was found inside. Was somebody watching from that chair? It's not comfortable to think about that. But again, we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the assailant or assailants. And it is obvious that these people that committed this crime were very sick. So sick people would do sick things like sit in the chair and watch. And let's not forget that Murphy did not have any red fluid on him, right? Lemongrass. What else could all of this be pointing to? in my opinion, this is pointing to that there were likely other assailants involved, which is kind of far-fetched for a lot of guilters. But actually, when we look at the evidence, the possibility of other assailants being involved matches the evidence, right? We know that there are 2 other sources of unknown male DNA. And then we also have unknown DNA under Maddie Mogen's fingernails. That did not come back to Brian Koberger. And also, they never found even 1 drop of DNA in Koberger's car. Just a friendly reminder, I personally find it a little bit odd that Dylan Mortensen claims to have heard somebody say in Xana's room, "I'm here to help." But then she didn't hear Xana screaming for her life? All right. About the theory of the cleanup crew. If this source is right, what happened to all that red fluid? Was it actually found that way by the investigators? Yes, maybe. No? Is it possible that somebody cleaned up? Of course it's possible that somebody cleaned up. When we go back in time and analyze all the legal documents, I know that we all are aware, most of us here are aware of the latent footprint, right? Remember, there was a latent footprint found outside of Dylan Mortensen's door. Do you know what latent footprint means? I've talked about this before, but a latent footprint in forensic science means that the latent footprint is not visible to the naked eye. So they actually have to use a special stain to try to get a visual representation of that footprint that is not visible to the naked eye. Now, what would cause a footprint to not be visible to the naked eye? One is if it's a barefoot footprint, right? If I'm walking around my home barefoot and I have, I don't know, hardwood floors, you're not going to see my footprint. Probably not, right? Unless your feet are disgusting. You're not going to see my footprint. But it's likely that with sweat and whatever else, if forensic scientists were to bring that footprint up, that impression, they could do so with special stains. But in this case, we don't have somebody that was walking around barefoot. This latent footprint came back to a shoe that looks like a Vans. A latent footprint could be the fact that somebody tried to clean the area, tried to clean the crime scene, tried to clean the footprint. And you know what? When they brought that footprint up, guess what? Now it's visible. Now it's there. Now it's coming to us. We know it's a Vans or something like a Vans shoe. What size was it? I believe it was a size 10, and it was allegedly right outside of Dylan's door. So, is it possible that somebody tried to clean that footprint up? And now that we know this crime scene was a bloody mess, it's not very far-fetched. This 4chan theory that we all heard from the early days about a cleanup crew that sounded psychotic to a lot of you. Now you're like, oh my God, there's a latent footprint. It could have been cleaned up. Oh my God, Dylan saw something allegedly shaped like a vacuum. I have personally always believed that the crime was committed much earlier than the 4 a.m. time range that they're giving us. I believed it was committed probably around 2. And of course, when you are investigators and you're trying to close a case, which is what you get paid to do, you're going to try to close it as soon as possible. And sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of the times, it means that you are building the case backwards. You're finding a guy that looks a little bit odd, and then you start building from there, right? Which is one of the reasons that I believe Brian Koberger may not be involved whatsoever, or he may be a patsy, or maybe he was involved, but not to the extent they want us to believe in, right? Who's in the chat, by the way? Hello, Shane Turner. Hi, Pinto Sack. Thanks, Tiff. You look so cute. You too. Wait, what? Afternoon, Tiff. Hello, Linda. Hi. My pal Sal Vintage. Good afternoon. Hey, Patty. Hey, Sid. Yay, you made it live. Hi, Translucent. Like the house was full of pennies, Sid. That's probably what the smell would be like. When I was in the military, as a corpsman in the Navy, we would sometimes, you know, if you're a corpsman, you're working in the medical field, you can rotate from the ER and such and forth. Basically, I did help with a very gory case once, and it was just one person. There was not red fluid everywhere. It was there, but not everywhere. And just that little bit of red fluid coming out of this person that had been unalived, had been passed away for a couple hours. It was horrendous. It smelled like copper, like iron, like metals. It was like being stuck in a 90-degree metal cage. This was one person in a big place. Imagine 4 people. Okay. Shane Turner says, I flew from Georgia to see that house before they tore it down. And of course, Sid, of course, we have not forgotten about Maddie's jacket at the fire hydrant. What's more concerning to me, besides Maddie's jacket being at the fire hydrant, was watching how the investigators handled that. It was literally like, they did this. They literally just threw it. They just threw it. Like it had nothing to do with the case. It was very odd. It was so weird. And this was filmed. I know you guys have seen the investigators throwing the damn jacket like it's not important. It makes you wonder what was going on behind the scenes. How were they actually handling the case? How are they handling the evidence? We already know that a lot of the crime scene was not tested. For example, the bed frames. Why wouldn't you test the bed frames of where the crime scene was committed at? Doesn't that make sense? Like if somebody's going in there to attack somebody, doesn't it make sense to just, you might as well test the bed frames? I think it's common sense, but it just doesn't make me feel comfortable about the investigation. We know this is a small police department. Yes, they did have a lot of the agencies on their side. We know that the FBI had been in that region, probably investigating the gangs there. The Aryan Brotherhood gang, which of course they'd been investigated for a very long time, and they finally got a lot of them arrested, right? Jesse James Bailey. Is he related to Emma Bailey? We don't know. But we can't just say, well, they did good enough because they're a small police department. No, we have to hold them to higher standards. This is why I think that we actually should pay our police officers more money. We need to train them more. They need to be well trained. Because when we have these cases, and let me tell you, they happen much more often than we want to think of. I'm here in Chicago. We have a guy up in Milwaukee who unalived some girl and threw her in the freaking river, chopped her up, right? And when you have small, untrained police departments, you end up in situations like this, potentially incarcerating somebody that has nothing to do with it because you are getting political pressure to close a case. That's not what any of us want. We all are here for justice of the victims. At the end of the day, it's all about the victims. It's not about me or you. Although we do love true crime, we're here for the victims. And that means having stable concerned police officers who know what they're doing, not police officers who are just gonna grab a coat off a crime scene area by the fire hydrant and throw it out like it doesn't mean anything, right? Linda says HJ is a bit suspicious. He was always in this house. Why? A lot of people were always in that house, but he seems to be there quite a bit, right? Translucent says the audio is fake. Why the hell was the red fluid never even uttered on the 911 call? I find that very strange. That is never going to sit well with me. A convict's thoughts with AR Hayes. Hey, buddy. Hey, how are you doing? Well, love and respect sent your way. I hope you guys are well too, AR and the family. Hi, Carmen. Hello, Linda. Finally, what is really true? Maybe nothing, because we have been lied from day one. And that's the thing. We don't know. And I don't think we're actually going to know until we get to trial. Unfortunately, that's how it is. That being said, I'm praying that this special investigator appointed by the judge does what he's supposed to do, because it's funny how there's all these leaks, but they haven't found the leaker. It's funny how we already know probably that the leak is coming from the prosecution or law enforcement. That needs to be handled immediately. Pinto Sack, what kind of friends don't check on their passed out friend until 8 hours later? Weird friends, right? Sid says, when the 911 dispatcher told them to go check inside on Xana, they could have said, no, you don't understand, there's blood. Send the police in an ambulance now. Now, I did an analysis a few live streams ago about the 911 call. I actually did several analyses of the 911 call, and I've always found it strange that it sounds like there's a police radio. Maybe it was coming from the station, but we don't hear an ambulance either. Just a little bit strange. Not to mention, we haven't even seen anybody pull out the bodies from the house, which is strange, because even in big cases where like famous people, celebrities pass away, we know that, you know, it is kind of disrespectful to be taking pictures of the bodies being pulled out, but it still happens. So I'm supposed to believe that nobody took pictures. There was nobody there yet. I don't know. There's always somebody there yet. Just a lot of things that don't make sense yet. I'm hoping that when the trial begins, you know. So sorry I couldn't read all of the messages here in the chat. I have to get going, but thank you guys for joining me in today's live. Please make sure to vote here, whether it's in the chat now or in the comment section later. I want to get to know your thoughts. Trust me, although I don't have time to reply to all of you, I do go and kind of scroll and at least try to give you a heart or something. Because I want to know what you guys actually think. That's why we are all here together to kind of put this puzzle together. And I personally want to know your opinion. Do you think that it's possible that Xana was actually found outside of the bedroom? Please leave a 1 if you think that is possible. That maybe there was something more sinister going on, like I mentioned earlier. Is it possible that somebody was watching or watching the crime take place, or making maybe Ethan watch Xana pass away, or vice versa? I think this is a sick person who probably did very sick things. Yes, it's not comfortable to have to think about these things, but as people who we are objective and we want justice, we have to put ourselves in the shoes of these people to understand them. If you don't think that it's possible that Xana was found outside, if you think this is just a rumor or a fake source or a stupid theory, that's okay. You can disagree with me. Please leave a 2. And also let me know your thoughts on the potential theory of there being a cleanup crew. So thank you guys for joining me. Take care. Have a good evening, guys. Take care.